If the technology is not failing us, I'll be entering in a Q&A with Michael and Daniel. Hi there. How are you? Daniel, would you allow me to ask you the first question? In the description of your film, it says the growing discomfort with what has happened or is about to happen in its empty rooms is interspersed with fragments of interviews with cam girls or cam boys that delve into the psychological repercussions of this type of digital sex work. Now, with the title No One Cried, indicating that no one cried, the question is, how do you think that the private sex life of the people involved in the business of being a cam girl or cam boy, how is it influenced by their profession?
I don't know.
No.
I suppose that there is an influence. I suppose being a sex worker of any kind, it does something to your own sex life.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't know. I think the approach I have with my film is, it's far from being a survey on what actually happens in the industry of the online sex work, and it's rather a personal take from a very particular point of view, from exploring something that I think maybe hasn't been explored, but so that doesn't make me know any more about how their personal sex lives are affected by their jobs.
Okay, so then this theme of Impact Festival being modern love, of course, and I'm going to ask the same question to you then, Michael, is how are we dealing with the notion of intimacy, which is mostly fed with sentiments, and how has technology with what you have shown with the two videos with a certain act of performing rather than being in private where you are not performing, how might have our intimate relations with other people have changed because of technology entering our private lives?
I think, definitely technology has given us access to a lot more material, let's say, about sex than we've ever had in history. More access than we've ever had. So that, I think, has a huge impact on how we understand sex or love. And I guess I can speak mostly from my personal perspective, and in particular in relation to my film. I've also I've engaged in this watching of chat rooms, of webcams, on a much more exhaustive basis than as a user. So I've also systematically searched for new things, for new people, for new for new everything, for novelty. So that's been an interesting process to search for things that maybe I wouldn't search for pleasure, but I would search for like sexual pleasure, but I would search out of curiosity. And I can imagine the same happens to other people. It just makes me think what it was to discover your being gay, for example, before the internet, and what it is now when you can look it up, when you can be like, let's see how it is gay sex, or like see how it is any other type of sex, or any other type of love, if you want. If you search in movies or in social media, you have access to that. And of course it also, I guess, limits your imagination.
Well, So you say actually it has a liberating effect because of you being able to choose from a lot more tastes, and there's a lot more that you can explore, but it's perhaps limiting you in your imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm speaking as I think.
Then I think, Michael, this is a question that I might be addressing to you, because in your video, the act of performing sex is, as it is said, almost becoming a comedy, right? Because it is a synchronized performance to a propulsive, unpredictable score, right? It's much more a mechanical performance than a, let's say, old-fashioned act of love. So, how would you see your film in relation to the answer that Daniel just gave?
Well, I mean, I think it's a very it's an extremely different approach, of course. My film is really about it's a dance piece. It's a dance piece that is asking, how can we complicate the act of sex to a ridiculous degree by complicating the rhythm and the choreography. So yes, it's very mechanical. It's not really about. It's not something that is promoting arousal. It's really about. It's about some kind of very skewed version of sex. It's sort of this joke about improving sex, but improving the rhythm to such a degree that it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um,
I was hinting at there where Daniel was saying that perhaps all the offer of sex on internet or on other modern media, as opposed to, I don't know for you, but at least at times I was growing up, might make us feel a lot more secure about having a taste for sex that might be different than the one that they're teaching you in biology classes. But it might also be limiting your imagination because it is all there right in front of you. And your video, besides beautifully filmed, is of course very much right there in front of you. How would that deal with the imagination of viewers?
Well, I think it sort of it proposes this question. I mean, I've given one way to involve rhythm, sort of to vary your sex life. I mean, this is a comedy, of course. But I would say the purpose, the greater purpose, is to kind of open up this possibility of kind of inserting absurdity and alternate rhythms into the sex act. So I've shown you one way you can use rhythm and absurdity, but I think sort of when that switches, hopefully it turns on a switch in the viewer's mind that excites their imagination, and perhaps they can explore those possibilities in other ways.
So then one word in your answer, improving, strikes a chord. I think we've seen various panel discussions here at Impact Festival already on the notion that you always need to be an improved version of yourself, as fed by the social media, where you need to appear different than you might be in reality. So, Michael, to you and to Daniel too, what is this need to actually improve yourself, even in the field of something that is very private to you?
I mean, I use this term very tongue-in-cheek in my work. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but it's really a satirical term. I mean, it's a satirical usage, taking something and varying it and complicating to such a degree that it's not better for you. It's probably, I mean, in this film, it's not it's very hard to do. I can't imagine that anyone can replicate this. Like to have a blowjob in whatever 17/8 time is, it takes a lot of work.
We
it's not
tried
easy.
here, we didn't make it. No.
So, so it's clearly not improving it. But I would say that yes, and it is of course like a satire on this notion of improvement too, and the kind of perfect sex act, and but I would say that there is, I don't know, there's something to be said for just what happens when humor able to enter the realm of sex more. I mean, for me, just as a genre, pornography, I don't know if sex can certainly improve, add different layers to. Sorry, humor can add different layers to sex, but just the genre sort of pornography as a medium, I for me it was just screaming out for kind of a comedic intervention. That there was it's hard to find humor in porn.
Yeah. So, Daniel, not comparing your movie to anything porn, but there was not too much humor involved in the movie, to be honest. So, same question for you as somebody who dove into a subject. What is this notion of that you always need to improve on your sex life? You think it has been fed by modern social media, or it has been an ever-existing wish?
Yeah, I immediately have to think of capitalism as a driver for improving things in general, for making you feel that you can have more, and these technologies and social media, they all have in a way taken advantage of this desire of people, and we participate of it, of course. So, but I see like how Michael's and my work are extremely contrasting in maybe in language or in form, but I think both take a distance from what actually happens in well, maybe not so much in real life, but in what is sold as sex in different directions. Like Michael ridicules it, makes it into a joke, and I remove it or try to speak about it without showing it. But I think in a way, we're both taking a stand. We're both inviting to reflect on that form of sex that is sold, and that I like watching Michael's work. It's not far, or like it's clear where it's coming from, because it's not far what you find on chat rooms. There is this notion of that better sex is more. It's just all. It's just as much as possible. It's just as hard as possible, as exposed as possible, as big as possible. It's just more, and it's not the only thing that you find, but there is a lot of that supersized sex around to be found, and I think perhaps these films don't have an answer to it, but they propose a reflection on it by distancing, by looking at something else.
Thank you very much. I think that's a beautiful answer. I was signaled that we have only 3 more minutes, and I would like to ask you, so if your films invite to a certain reflection on the commodification of sex, then, and it's a question that recurs here at Impact Festival, how can we reclaim our own agency over sex, and then perhaps even a step further intimacy, and perhaps even one step further love? It's not the most easy question, but well, as we're in this interview already, may I ask you to answer this?
Who would you like to go first?
Well, who speaks out first? Oh, that'll be you then.
Oh, me. Sorry. No, go ahead, please, please. I don't have a ready answer to this.
I would respond by not exactly responding and say that it's a search, and that I think it's okay for it to just be as it is, like faulty and in whatever way, like if you want, even victim of a culture of influences because we can't so easily escape society, and I think it's also unfair to see our perception of sex as it having to be improved or liberated or rethought or reflected upon, or that we're just live in a society, we live in a time, in these times, and just we just can do it as best as we can.
Thank you. So
That makes
then,
sense.
yeah, Michael, if I may ask you to answer that question in exactly 1 minute. I'm sorry, it's a time pressure of live TV here.
Sure. I mean, I think it comes back to this question of this question of imagination. How you. I think like, for instance, in my artwork, I'm dealing with absurdity and nonsense and all of this and choreography and rhythm. Now, I'm always upset with myself that there's not enough of those features in my daily life. Why isn't there more nonsense in the way I deal with the guy in the deli? Why isn't there, I want to have more of those things, my sensibility expressed in other realms. And same could be say for sex. I think it's important to how we get our sex lives closer to our sensibilities, whatever they may be. I don't know. It's a short answer, but I think it's about how we integrate imagination into that realm.
Thank you. I think that's a beautiful conclusion for this conversation that started off a bit hard technically, but we got to a very, sorry to say this, pun intended, happy ending. Your movies will be screened again tomorrow here at Impact Festival. Hope you will be able to join us online then again. And I'm going to leave you, say thank you, Michael. Thank you, Daniel.